Welcome to the Moviegoers Society podcast brought to you by Nerdtropolis. I'm your host, Sean Tajipour, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and joining me once again is my co-host, Drew Munhausen, the professional media and movie mastermind that may be stuck at the zoo.
Yeah, I almost was going to open with making ape sounds, and I couldn't bring myself to do it. I'm not going to lie. I couldn't do it.
I mean, I brought my little monkey over there. That's actually like I can't point properly. There we go, all the way there. That's my little childhood monkey. That's actually a backpack that I've had since little. So I'm a big monkey fanatic. So like I loved going to the zoo. But it seems like you're stuck somewhere with you're stuck on the planet of the apes.
I am. I'm one of the humans. I can speak. I'm intellectually capable. Yes, I'm part of that human tribe.
You are the Planet of the Apes professional media and movie mastermind. They have hired you to take part of the Moviegoers Society podcast, which is now on the Planet of the Apes official podcast, apparently. I love it. But yeah, in this podcast, we dive into the world of cinema, exploring everything from beloved classics to the latest blockbusters. And today on episode 42, we enter the kingdom of the planets of the apes, and hopefully with their permission. I mean, they are very fierce clan of primates. It's scary at times. But before we get into all of that, we want to make sure you can connect with us online. You can find me on almost every single social media platform at Sean Taj. You can follow Nerdtropolis at Nerdtropolis. And don't forget to visit nerdtropolis.com for your daily dose of movie news, reviews, interviews, and trailers. And Drew, where can they find you when you're not contributing to Nerdtropolis?
You can find me on social media platforms at Drew Munhausen, over at Letterboxd, posting what I'm watching. Hopefully I have a review from a movie I saw recently that'll be posting on Nerdtropolis soon. I just need to get around to it. So you can find me. I'm out and about. I'm around.
Catch up on past episodes of the Moviegoer Society and tune into my podcast, Real Insights, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course, the Nerdtropolis YouTube channel. I just dropped an awesome conversation I had with Reading Rainbow's very own LeVar Burton, which was excellent. I dropped another one with Atlas director Brad Payton. It's an upcoming sci-fi film starring Jennifer Lopez on Netflix. He was behind the Rampage film, San Andreas, and I believe Journey into the World, this second film for that one. And I will be dropping a interview with the hilarious Will Forte, who lends his voice to Thelma the Unicorn as a donkey called Otis. Had a great chat with him, and kind of did a little soundbite for like a Coyote versus Acme situation going on. Wanted to see what his thoughts were. He had a message he sent out on Twitter about the situation, but I wanted to see what message he had for fans. Shared it already as a reel and clip, and it's spreading like wildfire. But Will Forte was really great, so stay tuned for that one and many more interviews coming your way. But the big splash, we thought the box office was going to be a little low this month, as the few weeks have been kind of questionable. But now we have Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which is a 20th Century Studios film, previously Fox, but obviously a Disney studio film. And I was surprised, the box numbers are really strong. And this is a series that's been around forever, Drew. I mean, since the 1960s. Can you believe it? This franchise is still alive. It's kind of like Star Trek, starts really early on and continues to go on. And this is a updated franchise that really builds upon the rich history of Planet of the Apes, which started in 1968 with the Charlton Heston films. And then we got the Tim Burton version, which I don't recall very well.
It's terrible. It is one of the films that is like truly loathed that deserves it. Like it's really bad. It's really
now
bad.
I have to just rewatch it to see why it's bad. I mean, why is it bad, Drew? Tell us.
It's boring. Like that's a big part of it. It's not even a fun bad. Like it's slow, it's long, it's poorly acted. It's just it's ill-conceived, and the changes they make to the plot. Like, and I say this as somebody who I actually took it upon myself last year. I think I've seen every Planet of the Apes movie. I've seen all 5 of the original one. So like they made the original Planet of the Apes, which was a big success. They did a sequel, and then they kind of rolled out more sequels. Like it's one of the really first iterations of franchising, like what we're used to seeing, where they're like, oh, this is really successful, let's just knock out a few. So you do see a pretty sharp decrease in budget as those movies go, but they all actually have some pretty good qualities. Like they're all solid in their own right. I can see if I can even remember the names of them because they all have these kind of general names. It's like the Planet of the Apes, and then I think it's Beneath the Planet of the Apes, and then Escape from the Planet of the Apes, Conquest for the Planet of the Apes, and then Battle for the Planet of the Apes. I think are the 5 originals, and then you have the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes, and then of course the newer trilogy um, that Matt Reeves was involved in, you know, with Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, War for the Planet of the Apes, and now we have Kingdom. Kingdom's the first Disney released one, as you alluded to. But actually, considering how many entries there are in this franchise, most of them are actually pretty solid. The Burton one is just by far the worst one.
I'm really interested to revisit the Burton one now, just because of the cast it has. It's Tim Burton and how bad everyone says it is. I don't remember how bad it is. I don't know if I watched it in theaters or caught it on a rental or something. I mean, we were young when that came out as well, I believe. Uh, but yeah, you watched all of them. That's impressive. I think I've only watched maybe the original one, maybe a couple of like the sequels of that because they ended up on TV at some point. And then I watched, I guess, the reboot, the new franchise that we're talking about now, which was, you said it was Rise of the Planet of the Apes, is the first
I
one.
think Rise was the first one of those with James Franco in it, if I'm remembering
And
correctly.
I like that one. And I believed I watched parts of the other two. I never watched them in theaters. I think what my issue is, I love monkeys and primates so much. I struggle watching them in bad situations. Like it's really tough for me, especially when they look so real. And I don't like seeing animals get hurt or be put in peril, you know, and dangerous situations. And so that's where I have a dislike for the franchise is the realism of it, I think, which is great for it. That's impressive. And that's applauding them for that. But for someone like me, I was I wasn't really excited to see this film. I was like, well, now what are they going to do? You know, I don't want to see as technology grows. And to be honest, Drew, like they look real as they can get.
So yeah, I'm actually with you. I don't know that I was necessarily looking forward to this movie, even though I've seen all the Apes movies and I do like them. This one just to me felt like, I don't know, like we said, it's the first of the Disney ones. There's no Andy Serkis involvement in it.
None at all. He didn't do anything. I thought he was on there as a what do you call it? Consultant, maybe, I think.
I think he might have helped with like ape movement, you know, potentially, but his character's not in it. He's not, you know, a producer. He's not involved from a creative standpoint. It doesn't seem like his character, you know, Caesar is referenced. Caesar's actually a very big kind of plot point here.
Well, so real quick, so like this movie follows the young ape that goes on a journey that will lead him to question everything he's been taught about the past and makes choices that will define a future for the apes and human alike, which is following the new character of Noah doing all that. So like you have Caesar, who's no longer around, and then you have this new lead character named Noah, who's questioning their past that was based on, I guess, what Caesar brought to life in the previous films.
Yeah, Caesar's teachings are widely interpreted and misinterpreted by different clans of apes, I think is probably the way to put it.
Yeah, and it's a really good story, and I really thought Westball. What has he done before? Because I've never heard his name before, but I heard that he's done some really, you know,
I believe the Maze Runner franchise is where he has been kind of living.
Because now obviously
he
he's
did
tied,
all 3 Maze Runner movies,
and he's tied to do the live action Legend of Zelda film. So I actually liked the Maze Runner films. I'm not sure if I watched all of them, but when I did watch them, I really did enjoy them. So, and then this film I did like. That's no secret. My full review is on nerdtropolis.com. And so he's got the talent, and he can definitely do a live action Legend of Zelda film. But yeah, this is the film that continues the franchise's legacy and really does a good job with the thought provoking narrative. Like Caesar is like their Jesus pretty much.
Yeah, it's actually just a surprisingly solid entry. You know, again, going back to the old ones, not to keep treading the same ground, but you know, the original movie is, I feel like the twist at the end is so well known at this point. It's almost like Darth Vader being Luke's father. Like, you just everybody knows it by cultural osmosis. It's hard not to know. Um, but in the original Apes movies, you have these astronauts that come down that land on a thought to be foreign planet. And on this planet, the apes speak and humans don't. And the humans are widely used as like, slave labor and such by the apes, because humans are considered the lesser species. And then come to find out at the end of the movie, spoilers for a movie that came out in the late 60s, they've been on Earth all along, and we're hundreds of years in the future where apes have evolved and humans have kind of devolved. And that's the twist there. The ones that follow that, from those original 5 movies, are kind of all over the place and kind of bonkers, and they do try to kind of go back to the origin of the apes and how they came to be and started to evolve. And then of course the newer trilogy from the past little over a decade really dig into that aspect of it. And this is now kind of like we're truly in the Planet of the Apes. Like we're kind of back to where we started with this entry. And I think I'm just surprised at how just seemingly well thought out it is. Like you said, it's directed really well. The acting of the apes, like all the motion capture actors and those doing the voices, are very good, even though a lot of them might not be household names. I think just every bit of this really surprised me, including the box office. Like people were showing up for the apes. Apes have a place in the culture, I guess.
Yeah, and you speak of the cast, which are obviously in mocap suits and are portraying this, like Kevin Durant, who we saw in Abigail, uh, as one of the characters. He is Proximus Caesar, and to be honest, he's not the main character per se, but I thought his performance was the grandest because he really delivered almost a. He's not really a villain in my eyes, but his just grand performance really embodied this giant ape that was the king of that area and stuff like that and leading them, and he does a really good job. Like this is like his breakout role, I think, of what he's capable. He's been in a lot of stuff, but like it's really awesome how all in he went in. And then you got the characters of Noah and Rocca. Noah's played by Owen Teague, which I'm not familiar with, and then Peter McCone, who is Rocca. Not familiar with them per se, but they did a really great job on that. So I thought all the motion capture performances were top notch.
I agree, and I feel like we were kind of praising Kevin Durant on the Abigail episode, and I agree. As Proximus Caesar, he was fantastic and extremely memorable. Owen Teague as Noah, was good. He carried the story. He did what he needed to do. The only things I really know him from are he has like a small part in the It franchise, maybe, and that's really it. Even looking at his filmography, he's been in Eileen and You Hurt My Feelings, which are movies I've seen, but smaller roles. Yeah, and here he takes the lead, and I thought he was very good.
And then we really only have one human character played by Freya Allen, who I kept watching and I was like, what do I know her from? And she's in The Witcher. I guess is it Siri? Or
She plays Siri, yes.
yeah, a very young Siri. I mean, that's how long it's been since the first season of The Witcher. So I was really kind of dumbfounded watching. I was like, that she looks familiar, but I'm not sure where she's from. She plays this lone human, and that really, to me, very unlikable. you For me, it was. She's a self-serving anti-hero, is how I put it. But she also, funny thing is, she plays May. She plays that other uh in the trio. I guess it's Noah. I forget the other monkey.
Oh,
She also,
she does.
yeah.
Interesting.
So that's the interesting. So I do credit her for amazing, and I guess that's just the way her character is written as the human. But she does a really good job at the motion capture and voicing May. Amazing. But they do make her human character to me very unlikable, even from the beginning, from the get go. And her prerogative and what she's doing and kind of following Noah around and stuff like that. We're not going to get into as much spoilers, but um, to me, just from the beginning to the end, just unlikable for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, her performance is fine, but she obviously has like different motives, and she's kind of you're kind of questioning her the whole time. So I guess she's doing what she's supposed to. There is another human character that shows up later in the movie. Can I mention this? That I didn't know William H. Macy was in this movie until I saw it.
That's
And
true.
when
I
he
also
popped up,
saw, so I saw a lot of press with it, and I was like, why is William H. Macy on the red carpet for this event? What are they talking him for? Because I didn't see anywhere where his name is attached to this film. But yes, you can mention William H. Macy is also, I guess that's only two humans, right? That we saw in this film.
yeah, that are truly notable. Other than well, no,
Right.
I don't want to.
Yeah. We'll
Yeah,
leave it there.
yeah, but they're the two like essentially speaking role main humans in the movie. William H. Macy, who has like his character essentially has settled into this world of apes, and he's like, I recognize my place here. I'm fine with letting the apes kind of run things, which is it's kind of funny um perspective for him to have, and he's great in this. You know, we talked about him a little bit when we did a Ricky Stenicki episode, and it's just been kind of nice to see William H. Macy in things again, and also just seemingly having fun and being funny.
And he's really good. Like, I don't know why he kind of seemed like he disappeared for a little bit. But I also know there was also a lot of drama going on with, I guess, what his wife was involved in. So with
I
the
think he's just been stuck in shameless land for
well, that too. I don't know if
years and years.
that college scandal maybe did something to he's too busy because there was a dark period of where he just didn't show up in things. But I always was a big fan of William H. Macy, and so it's great to see him back. Ricky Stenicki is hilarious. He's really good in this. Um, he keeps adding to his resume. I mean, with some really diverse stuff, especially now as he is older. And yeah, it's all about the apes in this film. A couple human characters, and I thought this film, other than the slow parts, I mean, it is pretty slow. The action's pretty awesome. Some people say there's not a lot of action. I think there's enough action in this film. I think it's just a very long film. If you shorten it,
It's like yeah, it is long, to almost 2.5 hours long.
that's why it might feel like it's not action packed, but it is an action packed film in my eyes. It's just really long that you do have a lot of I guess new world building. You got to, because this is a brand new trilogy and setting the stage for the franchise's future. And they're planning they said a total of 9 movies. I'm not sure, is that counting the original 3? So this is 4. So they're planning 5 more films.
Does count them. I think that it's like that was kind of the first trilogy, and then there's going to be a second trilogy that this is kind of kicking off, and then I think that means that they would have plans for a third trilogy down the line. Which, you know, if people keep showing up for these movies like they have for this one, I think we're going to have plenty of apes to come in the next decade by the sounds of it.
Listen, if the apes don't end up in space, I'm going to riot. I need an adaptation, a live adaptation of my favorite cartoon as a kid, Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys. I'm telling you, this is where this needs to go, is turning it into a family-friendly Disney live action version somehow of Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys, because I definitely loved that cartoon as a kid. And I think I found it on like Tubi or something the other day to start rewatching. And yeah, just like we say, the Fast and Furious franchise ends up in space and does time traveling, all this stuff. We need the Planet Apes franchise to jump the shark a little bit, because I mean, it is a pretty extreme storyline where a lot can happen, and so it'll be interesting to see where it ends up at film number 9. Because I mean, we're only 4 films in. That's 5 films, and they jump pretty ahead to some extent between each film.
The older movies get into some truly profoundly weird territory, so it's not unprecedented for this franchise to do things like go into space or have people with psychic powers or whatever it may be. It's just this is a thing that happens in those movies. You never know. This one is, I mean, considering it's about walking and talking apes, you know, it's like fairly grounded in this world that they've created. It is long. I was still pretty engaged with it the whole time, even though the slow parts. I didn't think there was really a lack of action, but of course that's a common complaint for people with movies that are long. So I think that really is. I think maybe it was just people feeling the runtime more than anything. I will say that Peter Macon as Raka, I really liked the character of Raka. Could have used more Raka personally.
Yeah, I liked Rocco a lot, and I think all the apes in this are really, really good, and they play an important part, and they all kind of become like your like everyone has their fan favorite, even like the smaller role apes. Like you're like, oh, I like what their characters like, because there's a couple silly ones too at the same time, and it's just cool watching apes ride horses, and especially how realistic it is. Uh, and I'm certain, I think when they were doing promo for this film, they were like traveling city to city, and there were people in the costumes that would look really real. So I'm curious of like filming the movie, how much was mocap and how much was actually like a suited individual, because they looked really realistic when these promo shots I saw of them, I think in San Francisco, New York, dressed as the apes riding the horses to promote the film. So very impressive when it came to that. But I could tell some moments, some landscapes, some backgrounds were definitely green screen, which is fine. But still, it looked really good, and great sceneries.
Well, even the opening shots, it's like you see the birds, which we haven't even mentioned the birds. Birds are like a huge plot point to this too, which I thought was actually really interesting. And it worked for me strangely, but it opens with seeing one of these hawks or eagles flying over the landscape in what look like these big green luscious mountains. And then it took me a second to realize like, oh, these are buildings. These were skyscrapers or buildings that are now covered in greenery they almost now blend into the landscape. And from that moment I was in. So that just goes to show you how they kind of capture you right off the go, and building the world. You immediately know, okay, we are on Earth. We are super far into the future. These buildings are destroyed and overgrown. I'm in. I'm here. I'm in it. So I thought that was well done. The world building itself.
No, it's really great. I gave this film 4 out of 5 stars. I think Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes it's like a thrilling evolution of the franchise. It really sets it. Like I said, the other two I don't recall seeing fully, but like I'm engaged now with the franchise with this film, and I'm looking forward to like what they do next. Like I'm okay with seeing some monkeys in peril, but look, they do a really good job with the storytelling's amazing. Like it's really some important themes in it. So I'm excited for more.
Yeah, like not to keep repeating myself, I'm impressed. I didn't have high expectations. I enjoyed this. I'll have my myself in a theater when the next one comes out. Like I'll be there for the future entries.
Yeah, and I think if we don't get that Captain Simeon Space Monkeys adaptation, I'm going to riot.
I'm sure what everybody is clamoring for right now, Sean.
Of course. But for all of you tuning in right now, don't forget to subscribe. Share all our Nerdtropolis content. We got a lot of great stuff coming. We do movie news, reviews, interviews, and trailers. I mean, we have tons of stuff coming your way. And once again, Drew, where can they find you?
You can find me at Drew Munhausen on all the different social media platforms. Continue to watch the show, watch old episodes, especially if you're catching up on movies you may have missed. Follow me on Letterboxd, see what we're watching, and of course, every week here.
Thanks again for joining us for another episode of the Moviegoers Society. Once again, I'm Sean Tajipour, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and we will see you at the movies.